Hey guys, we've got something a bit different from our collectors company member. I'm joined today by Benny and Kevin, doing a little bit of a winners interview as well as deck profile for Kevin. Not necessarily winning the event, but finishing second at the first online regional, beating did beat me in the tournament today, which is quite unfortunate for me. But Kevin, how do you feel after coming second, finishing top four?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It was good to finally be able to get a result that I guess kind of reflects the amount of work I've been putting into this, trying to get some finishes. So it feels good to finally have the place there.
Honestly, this was long time coming. Like, honestly, Kevin is one of the most insane players that me and John have to verse at local consistently. If there's one person who can always beat, Benny and John, like, that person's Kevin. Like, honestly, I'm so happy for Kevin. Kevin Topping is like, and he got the Sin gold as well. Like, honestly, like that is super, super nice. I know you're super keen to play the 9 drop Sin as well. So, yeah. Why don't
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
walk us through your deck profile?
yeah,
See.
sure. So leader is the SS Goku. I think everyone knows this card by now. Everyone probably has a million copies of this exact one. So for anyone who doesn't know, the leader, when you swing, you can choose one, draw one card, or switch up to one of your mono blue energy active mode, and you awaken at 4 life. Or when you have a 3-drop blue unison out. And then on the backside, when you swing, you get to draw one, untap two, and then at the end of your turn, you get to switch your unison back to active mode. So this card is pretty good. It's been around for a while. It's been thought to be banned for a while, but it's still around, so might as well play it. I'll start off with first the unisons. So we play 4 of the baby unison. It's pretty much the best one, I think, at the moment for this deck. Just allows you to continuously draw, and then -5 is actually very relevant against some of the slower decks. So against like blue and yellow, you'll get to like 9 markers on this, get to turn 5 or 6, and then you're able to play out multiple big body threats because you can -2 play the Great Ep counter play, which I'll show you later, and just be able to have many big boys on board at once. We also play 2 of the Majibu Assault, so the 4-drop. Double strike blocker. His +0 is you get to draw a card and restand himself and an energy at the start of your opponent's next main phase. And then the -1 is when your opponent attacks with a battle card, you may choose one of the battle cards and put them on the deck. So if this dies, you just go into this, or if you're versing anything which is a huge boss monster, you just slam this down, and they just decks have a big trouble trying to get through this. So you can block, neg -1, remove big battle cards, and yeah, it's just a wall. Once this hits the board, it's game over for a lot of decks.
Oh, actually, I have one question for you, Kev. Yeah,
Mm.
because I see that most Soul Striker decks play more than 4 3-drop unisons. Did you ever have trouble finding a 3-drop unison or awakening on curve?
So it was kind of a meta call to include only 4. I was running 3 until John told me to run 4 because running 3 is bad. So I made room for the fourth. Honestly, today I didn't miss it ever, just because
Nice.
you play so many cards that cycle and you play the draw apes from the drop, and you against most decks they're going to awaken you by turn 3. You're going to be on 4 life anyway, just trying to defend yourself. So you can strategically take hits to go down to 4 life, and then you realistically don't need to play this. Depending on whether or not you have a counterplay in hand, you might still want to play it anyway. So I think 4 is probably a good amount for this build specifically. If you play ones with if you play a build with like the skillless or blue yellow, maybe having more than 3 is needed.
Awesome. All right, let's see what
So
else you've got.
next, I'll go into the counterplays. So we play 3 of the God Sealing technique. So counterplay, your opponent's card just goes back to the hand. It's always good. Uh, Staple just hits everything except for the big boss monsters. Is just insane against pretty much every deck. You just whenever they play a couple energy for a card, you just say, "No, not this one. Pay another couple of energy, please," and you just tax them throughout their turn. We also play 4 of the Ultra Insist Sun Goku Unstoppable. So this is a card that used to be very popular when it first got released. It has a counter play and counter attack, which just say play this card. It costs 4 with 2 blue specified. This card's skills cannot be negated in any area by your opponent's skills. This is the permanent. And then when you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, return it to the hand, then draw 1. So this card is insane at the moment because of U7. When you keep open 4 energy, because you don't really need to play anything on your turn. You're just trying to survive. Like U7 will just onslaught you. You just survive until turn 6, and you just win the game pretty much. So they play their big boy. You play this. In response, it goes back to the hand. You lose it off board, but it's already cycled itself, and they've just tapped 4 energy, and they've got nothing left to do there to their turn. So they pretty much pass. And then
Honestly,
we play.
I was gonna say one thing. With the deck that can manipulate energy and so use energy so efficiently, you're happy to trade 4 energy for their 4 energy, right?
Exactly. Like you would try and set the highest life total and just keep them from playing the game. Is pretty much the goal of this deck until you can get to your bomb bosses, and then you just play those and you just win because they just do so much. So the whole goal is just to survive for as long as possible, pretty much. And I play one of the baby golden Avengers. So this is the counter. I would probably increase this to 2, just because in the blue mirror match you need as many of these as possible. And but being able to -5 off the unison and be able to play this by discarding 2 cards from your hand, you're pretty much always going to have 2 cards that are dead almost. So you just get this for free, and it wins you games by itself. So next we have the draw engine of the deck. We play 4 of the Great Ape Son Goku. So this is the classic combo it off, pay 2 on your turn 2 and draw 2. And then we
Pot of
play.
greed. Pot of greed is good.
Auto read is always good. And then we have
Inbuilt answer for hand destruction. Yeah. So if anyone does still try to play hand destruction, you kind of have to draw apes as well.
exactly. You don't need to dedicate 10 slots in your sideboard for it, so you only need to dedicate 6, so you get more flexibility. You know.
Nice.
So I played 3 of the East card keeping watch. So what this card does is when you play it, you draw a card, and then during your turn, when your opponent plays a battle card, they have to put one of the cards at the from their hand at the bottom of their deck. So this is huge in this format where everyone is trying to do things on your opponent's turn to generate more advantage. If you just stick that down turn 1, you don't really do much else on turn 1 with this deck. You just hit this. Worst case scenario, you've just cycled it. Best case scenario, when they try and counterplay something later on, they're going to have to then pay an extra card. And it just slowly builds up over time. Like they want to remove this because they think it's a threat. But if they're not attacking your life, and they're trying to get rid of this through different plays, it's done more than it needs to already.
Sounds like value, yeah? Real value.
Exactly.
Especially
Good
against...
value. I did have this as what's the card called? The card where you pay 1 energy, look at top 2, put 1 in hand, put 1 on top of deck, and then
Intersecting
untap
Fate.
Yeah, I had this as Intersecting Fates, and then John told me just to play this card instead because it does sort of the same thing. You get to see less cards, but the effect is just insane. So I think in my KP match, I slammed this, and he spent like 2 different plays just trying to remove it. And it was just 2 unoptimal plays he had to make to try and get rid of this on his turn. Because if this stuck around to my turn again, he was just going to have to bottom deck like half of his hand to do anything efficiently.
This also taxes yellow heavily. If you ever play against yellow, they repose steadfast. They do a lot of shenanigans. You're like, each guy's on the board, thank you, tax please.
Yeah. Even the red U7 deck, the counterplays are all in the auto step, so they're not in the actual counterplay step. So even if they counterplay this card itself, it's costing them that 1 card, plus they have to bottom deck another one as well. So even just playing it into red, it feels so good. So yeah, but just the general whole gist of this deck was I was going to play Sin this weekend, and then I realized Sin has a horrible matchup into U7, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to build a blue deck which just counters U7 because I think everyone's going to play it. And I versed 2 of them today, and I beat both of them, one being John. So I think the deck accomplished its goal. So if you want to beat U7, play a blue deck and just negate everything they do. And I'll show you the key MVPs for that matchup in a little bit. So my super combos are 2 Zeno and 2 Vegeta. So the bottom deck draw 2, and the grab an energy back to hand and put an energy in there. So I was originally running 4 of the draw ones. But then I realized with John's help that this is sort of like a draw anyway, because you feel less. It feels less bad playing lots of one-offs like this baby and like a few others later on, where even if you have to charge them earlier on, you can still then grab them back and they're available to you. So I charge this turn 1 very often, and we'll just grab it back with Zeno once I get to turn 5 or 6 and go, okay, cool. Now I've got it in my hand. I need it when I need it. And so I think this 2-2 split is very ideal in the mono blue version.
Awesome. Also, another cute thing is like, when your opponent thinks you're tapped out, you can use their next super combo and like, you're all of a sudden you're not tapped out, and they start getting worried.
Yeah. So Zeno super combo, Bean. Okay, cool. I'm a 20k base and I've got 2 energy open, and then they just go, oh, okay, well that's a bit scary now, and then you just So the energy open is to play this card here. This card is
Oh,
cracked. This is
tell us
the Realm of the
about it.
Gods Beerus Destroyer. It's the new Realm of the Gods rare. So these I got 3 SPRs. Thank you, Benny. From the
Beautiful. Look
latest
at this.
set.
Yeah.
So in case you're not aware of the choices, so if your leader card and all your energy is blue, choose one of your cards and it gets 10k power for the battle. Then choose one. If it's your turn, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost greater than their current energy. Place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. So this is really good into things like Sin Shenron, or if
Vegeta?
U7, yeah, Gogeta U7 playing out the 8 drop, like next turn you survive, you hatch, whatever you do, you survive, you swing, you do this, it's gone. It's you've got 10k power as well. But then what it also does is, if it's your opponent's turn, you combo this, you draw one, and then you choose up to a one battle card with energy cost of 2 less place from the owner of the bottom's deck. So against Gogeta Zeno, this is also cracked because you just bottom deck their one drops they're trying to swing with. They
Yep.
lose value, especially if they don't sequence correctly, and you get to draw a card. So I think honestly, you could still run Kamehameha, but I would almost, if I was to make changes, I would probably put in a couple Kamehameha, but keep this at 3 because it's just so important against all the top decks at the moment.
This card is legit cracked. So like a common thing people do with Gogeta, because they have to swing with the one drop True Fighting to self awaken. So they'll
Yeah.
take the live go to 15, right? And then you know what you do? You have one energy up, you play that, you go to 20, but you don't really need to. But like you out combo the attack already. But
Yeah.
you can also bottom deck the other ones that they have on the board. For example, like this card's so much value. This card's insane
Exactly.
against Gogeta.
Because generally Gogeta don't want to get 2 on the board, so they get the full effect from like either the Unison or leader effect. Swing with one combo out of that attack with one card and remove the other one.
Yeah.
It's just huge into that matchup. So I didn't play that. I didn't play Benny today, but if I did, this card probably would have won me the matchup.
Definitely MVP.
4 Senzu Bean because it's Senzu Bean and Senzu Bean is broken. 4 Dimension Magic because it's Dimension Magic and Dimension Magic is broken in a deck where you want to use your energy all the time. The secret tech MVP of the deck, Dirty Burst. So this card is shout out to Nooks. He is literally the one that got me into this card and pretty much this whole deck idea in the first place. This card says it costs 1, negate and you can use it as a negate for 1. The other effect is you pay an extra 1 blue, so it costs 2 blue. You draw 1 card, and then your opponent can attack with battle cards of cost 7 or more. So the big thing is U7. I like I said, this whole deck's for U7, but U7 and then the new Trunks and Vegeta. You keep up on turn 4. So worst case scenario, they go first. You have 3 energy. Play Unison, Awaken, swing with leader, untap 2 energy. You just pass. Leave open 2 energy. They play a 4. They play their big boy. They clear nothing because you got nothing on your board. You don't care, and then they can't attack. Next turn, you swing, use this, it's gone, and they've gotten no value from the 4 drop, and they're tapped out. And then you can start poking at them and clear their board. This card, in a best of 1 format, I would keep it at 3. In a best of 2 best of 3 format or a pre-sale format, I'd probably drop it down to 2. But just based on the decks that exist, this is just insane at the moment. Now, going into the last negate is Oceanus. So again, U7, mill. You use this. You only use this after they've awakened because before they can be smart about it and not mill themselves. So, but after they're awakened, they're gonna have 16, 20 cards in deck. You play this, it's pretty much a hatch because they're not gonna attack through it. If they do, they're losing more turns. So the first one, they may attack once or twice. They go to 10 cards in deck. The second card you play, that just ends their turn because they can't risk attacking and just losing the game. So this is what the card does is you pay 2, it costs 3 less on your opponent's turn. Negate the attack, it plays itself and it's a block of 5k, and you discard a card, and then every time your opponent wants to attack afterwards, they have to just place the top 4 cards of their deck in their drop area. So good mill. So and then we run 1 more negate, and we run the one of the new SSG Son Goku Miraculous Transformation. So this card is okay. It's not great.
Did you play it any time today at all? Because it is very costly for 3 energy.
I played it once just because I had the energy open. In a best of 3 format, this card performs a lot better because you can side it in and out. But it's just more of like a 10k combo, which has the possibility of being played. I charged it most of the time, but just the option to be able to floodgate your leader. So what this card does is Deflect unique triple strike barrier. Negate the attack then play this card. It costs 3 during your opponent's turn if they have 3 energy. If your leader card is mono blue and this card is in rest mode, your opponent's battle cards can't attack a leader card. So when you negate, it gets played in rest mode. So if you negate leader attack with that, they have to then spend at least the next attack trying to clear this or using resources to clear it. And so often I used the thing twice and I just used it on the first attack. I'm like, okay, you're either wasting 2 more attacks on that or 1 more attack. And then it's just everything this deck does, it does very efficiently. There's no cards that don't really do anything when you play them, which is the whole goal of it. Speaking of
value, all value
the
cards,
value,
yeah.
the most value card in the deck is a new common blue card from this set. Actually insane. The 3-drop Vegeta, SS Vegeta the Interceptor, dual attack, counter. If your leader card is blue, play this card. Literally never do that because it doesn't matter. The best part is when this card is played, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards and place them at the bottom of their opponent's deck in any order. This card just destroys everything at the moment. Nothing really has barrier. The only thing you have to worry about is Trunks, but Trunks can't kill you. So you just go to like 7 energy and kill them. Kill them later on. Against U7, turn 2 they play a bunch of stuff. Turn 3, if they've awakened you, you just slam this swing. You got 2 energy open for defense, and you've bottom deck 2 of their boys, and you then have a dual attacker to either poke at them or clear more board or clear unison. And they have to answer this. If they don't have an answer to neg this, it's just gonna clear everything, or they're gonna lose many cards from hand. So I would almost put this to 4, just because you want to see it at like pretty much every game.
Yeah, card's really good. Honestly, I had 2 of those dropped at me back to back, but I Super Kamehameha one of them, but I wasn't expecting the second one. Honestly, put in so much work. Like they were 20k dual attack. Like 20k swings are not easy, right? Because that's like what if you don't have super combos, that's like what if you want to combo out of it. Yeah, that's 2 cards and another 2. Right? That's like 4 cards.
Exactly.
So much value.
Especially for blue. Blue has trouble using its energy on its own turn. Usually blue only really uses energy on its opponent's turn. So to be able to proactively do something which clears their board and gives you a chance to swing however you want is just insane for this deck. Like this card actually makes mono blue feel good again, along with this card. So these cards both give you something to do on your turn to actively help with the board stay, which is why they're so good. We pay 2 of the Tapion and 3 of the Goku. So these are the 1-drops where this one you have to have 3 energy. You just play it as a blocker with Deflect and you just draw 1. And this one is the Spirit Boost 1, play for 1, draw 1, and it's a double strike. So these I just play. Play for 1 if I have it's just like blue just needs to do stuff on its turn and this just cycles. It's similar to the East Kai. You just want to do something on your turn to use your extra energy that you know you're not going to use just to draw cards. Like I would often deck out, or like almost deck out, sorry, because I would just go through so much of my deck just from continuously drawing. So these are really good at just being able to. A lot of the time, I just swing at unisons, and they're just like free attacks into unison. So against a King Piccolo today, I think I cleared 2 of his Piccolo unisons just from playing these and playing this Vegeta. I didn't even bother swinging at his face because if I swing at unison, he can't use leader ability, and then that means he gets less value from his leader effect. He can only do it on his turn and not mine. Now down to
What's your card count for your deck at the moment? Because you said you were close to decking out a few games.
52 at the moment.
52.
So I think you want to be around the 52, 54 mark, just so you can consistently see the 3-drop baby unison. I would potentially go up to 54, 55, but then you run the risk of not seeing this consistently. It just depends on how whether you're including more of these or whether you're including cards that actually draw you. So I wouldn't include any cards that don't actually provide good value. I would provide maybe 1 more of these. I wouldn't put another one of these in just because it kind of does nothing. I'd put another one of these in because it draws for you, but I wouldn't just put in cards that have late game effects because you need to get there with this deck, which is the first thing. Cool. The ultimate boss monster for blue is now this Kale Rampaging Demon. I dropped this literally every game, and it pretty much won me every game I played it. So Deflect Double Strike when this card is played. If you have 5 or 6 energy, you choose all your opponent's cards with 3 or more energy, and you put them at the bottom of their deck. So against U7, that clears literally everything. against most decks. That clears everything. Against KP, it clears everything but drum. It just turn 5, you slam this, swing with leader, get back 2 energy for defense for next turn, and you got a 30k double striker. And it's just like this card is huge in this deck. Without this, you wouldn't be able to win games. But because we have this, and it's mainly because of the next effect. If you have 7 energy and you pay 5 for this, it now gets the extra. It gets the effect of choose all your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, placing them at the bottom of their owner's deck, and this gets barrier and dual attack. So I would just wait to 7 energy, pay 5 for this, dual attack, barrier, deflect, double strike, means it can't be hit by any U7 counterplays, and I remove their whole board. So
Insane.
if you can survive to 7 energy, you slam this, you're pretty much winning the game against 99% of decks. The only thing this deck struggles against is other blue decks, which are more control focused. So I don't play like the Vegeta or the what's the Tragedy Overground, like these like very late game cards, because I'm more focused about like being able to survive against aggro. So I don't really have as good of a control matchup, and so that's why I lost the finals. But that's okay. I still put in a good effort.
100%. Yeah. No, honestly, like getting the second place, playing in the finals and it's honestly that's an amazing effort already. Just getting there,
I had like 10 practice games with John. I changed from Sin to this deck after beating him in one game, and I was like, this is it. This deck is the one I need. I couldn't take a single game off him with Sin, and then I went 2-1 in our first best of 3, and I was like, this is the deck. I'm changing. And then I quickly built it and tested a couple more times, and it felt pretty good.
Yeah, wise call.
Yeah. Last 3 cards, all 3 1-ofs. So Turning the Tide. I think everyone thought this card was going to be banned as well because it's pretty insane. Critical Deflect, pay 7. You both shuffle your hands back into your deck, and they lose all the battle cards in their drop. If you have this on board and you play this, you both go to 0 cards. You draw 1. You draw 1 from leader, and then if you have any draw apes in the drop, you can then draw 2 more, and then you hit crit. They have no cards, they have to take it, and then you can just win the game from there. It is slightly situational where they can U7 can clear this because all their counterplays are on all their counterplays are autos, not actually in the counterplay effect. So that is the one matchup I would say I wouldn't just slam this willy-nilly, because if they do have a Jiren out and then Videl you and then Goku you, you've just lost the game pretty much, because you have no longer a card, no hand, and then they draw and they have 2 battle cards to kill you with next turn. The SAR of the deck, what else would you use? It's a blue deck. You want to survive to turn 7? This is the best card to do it. Hachiak.
Yep.
I used it every game because it's Hachiak.
Heart of the cards, baby. Heart of the cards, baby.
Yes, the story. I beat John because I top decked this card using this when he was had 3 swings left. I was on 1 life. I had no way of surviving except I drew a card off this. It happened to be Hatch, and
Rest is history. Rest is history.
He wasn't salty.
I praised him. It's like, dude, you're so good, bro. You're cracked.
Heart of the cards. They call me Yu-Gi-Oh. And then last card is Ss4 Bardock. Just having more poke is really good. Just like some turns, you just need an extra attack, and we don't really use our drop. So as long as you've used the draw apes or you don't think you need them, you just play this turn 5 or 6, get an extra couple of attacks in. This is really good in the mirror as well, because you can then bait out a boom minus or a counterplay either with this or with something else, and then you go in with this and you can just clear it for free. And yeah.
Actually, I also
That
have
is
one more
the
thing that I wanted to mention as well, yeah? So,
Hmm.
with all these dual attackers, how many beans have you stacked on one of them to try go aggressive? Just curious, you can quadruple.
So I'll put a bean on one of these guys if I
Yeah.
play them. So turn 3, if I play this, I will bean this, swing, bean it, and then play Unison, and then Awaken.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sorry, after Awakening, I swing with leader, swing with this bean, and then I play Unison, and then I can use Trunks next turn, and then. But having bean on all these dual attackers, it feels pretty good. You have all of these for it.
Nice. Any closing shout outs you'd like to give?
Shout out to you boys for all the testing and all the thoughts. Thanks to John for destroying my soul with U7 to the point where I chose to make a deck to beat it.
You're welcome, dude. I'm here for you anytime, bro.
Shout out to Nooks from Dandenong for letting me steal his deck and just literally telling me what it was so I could copy it, because I saw that he was beating U7 with it and it seemed pretty fun. And yeah, just shout out to the boys at Cartastic for all the support and all the fun times.
For sure. Anything you want to say, John, before we close out?
No, not much really to say. Congrats to Kevin. Like, you know, he proved himself today. He only lost to the person who won event, Peter, who's like a talented player from Sydney. Yeah, you just always were able to like push through where it mattered. Like just checking out some of the games today, it's like even when it felt like you're in an unlosable, like a losing situation, you're able to clutch it out a lot, which is like kind of like what you need to be able to like I guess get to the top level of this game. And you know, you're welcome. You know, for beating you so bad, you switched to this deck. The funny part is the thing that Kevin knows I'm salty. The reason why I'm extra
Yeah, that's
salty,
fine.
we literally had 2 practice games before where I won both of them, and then it's like, all right, cool, we're chilling, dude, we're chilling. And I'm like, oh, thanks for the free win against you, Kevin. Then he just beats me when it mattered.
It is what it
It
is.
is what it
It
is.
is.
Congrats to Kev again, honestly. Yeah, huge congrats.
Thank you, boys.